All right. What's up, everybody? Look at yourself in the mirror, give yourself a bit of a woof woof, and just look at yourself in the eyes and say, I am the big dog. The biggest dog. The big dog. Woof woof. The big dog's doing big things today. We are on part 2 of lessons, business lessons learned from 50 Cent's or 50 Cent's in the club. Perhaps the greatest song of all time. One of them, maybe, maybe not. It always makes me think of the Dan Band on The Hangover doing the cover of Candy Shop. My gosh, that is so funny. Do yourself a favour and look up the Dan Band, The Hangover. You will not regret that. All right, we're on part 2. Our first one was talking about it's your time to shine, it's your time to go in business. I would really encourage you to listen to that. It's great. The second one is about presentation. When you pull up at the front, you see the bends on dubs, right? About presentation, not so much the bends on dubs, but about your business and what it looks like to someone from the outside, right? It might not be shiny rims, but it might be clean shirts, logo, sexy looking vans, driving around those mobile billboards. Give yourself a little beep beep. Getting some chicken and chips from the local chicken shop. Shout out to the chicken shop in Brunswick Heads who does an absolutely incredible gravy / chicken and chips / chicken burger / veggie burger / anything you want. But probably less veggies, more chicken from that, as it's called the chicken shop. Still vegan friendly, but I guess you can get some stuff from there. But good for us. All right, now this is business lessons from 50 Cent's in the club. This was given to me by the trade gods via sorcery. I don't really know how they communicate to me. They just do, and it's not my fault, and I shouldn't be judged for that. But here we go. All right, lesson number 3. If you watch how I move, you mistake me for a player or pimp, right? If you watch how I move, you mistake me for a player or pimp. While you might not be essentially either of those, I just want to talk about if you are watching yourself move. I'm not talking about your dance moves. I don't really care about your dance moves. I'm not a very good dancer. My friend Brett is a very good dancer and sort of one of those ones. I think he must have done a dance academy when he was younger, but he's one of those people that can just like shred the dance floor. I'm not a dance floor shredder. I can do a little bit of the robot, but my rhythm is potentially... it doesn't feel good, so I can't imagine how it looks. It's just like, I don't know if you can resonate with me or if you're like, nah, I'm the sickest dancer ever. Anyway, if you watch how I move, you mistake me for a player or a pimp. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's what I want to grab out of this, right? There should be rhyme and reason to how you move. Some of us get bogged down in no movement, and that might be procrastination. So I want us to go there on how are you moving? Are your days and weeks effective, or are they not? Are you moving like a player or pimp? Like, are you moving well, or are you not moving well? Are you getting caught in procrastination, in poor time management? And what is leading to that, right? I want to encourage everyone to move with intention, to move with purpose, to move deliberately, and to move with goals, right? So it's super interesting when anyone asks me, like, how do you set up your office day? Because I'll never forget just sometimes staring at that screen. And I often preach this, like, you know, when you're looking at your screen, like you're trying to do quoting or invoicing or something, getting back to people late at night. And I really do feel like, personally, my productivity drops off at nighttime, just because you had a big day. Maybe you had you worked on site, you looked after the kids, and when I say looked after, if you got kids, if you don't have kids, what did you do this afternoon? You probably just worked or ripped into some surfing or something. But you might have had a big day and then had some family time in the afternoon and went to the gym or Pilates. If you're a God's gift to exercise, or running, and then by the time you open the computer at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, you can feel quite lethargic, quite defeated, quite tired. Let's face it, probably more than anything, just tired. And it can just be like you can achieve 30 minutes of productive work in like 2 hours after you do some doom scrolling and read what does an antelope eat at 12 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon. It's so funny when you put your kids to bed and they start just asking the most random question, like, who made God? Or like, this is a big question to ask me at this time. Or like, what is a star? And there's so much I don't know the answer to that my kids ask. I'm like, I legit have no idea, but someone does, and let's look it up. What a time to be alive. But there should be some intention, some purpose, and I feel like to your movements in the day. And I want you to stop what you're doing right now and be like, are my days filled with productivity, right? Now, I'm a big fan of both hard work and smart work. It's going to take a bit of both, a little from column A, a little from column B, and you've got to know when to insert yourself into each one. Like picture your favorite halfback or quarterback, or I don't know basketball very well, but like point guard, like shooter, I don't know, whatever. Like picture your favorite sports person. Like chances are they insert themselves at the right place at the right time, and they might not always be working super hard, but they know when to put the pedal down. They know when it's their time to go, when it's their time to shine. And you need hard work, I think, as a business owner, but you also need smart work. If you can combine the two, you can do some amazing things. A podcast we did a couple of months ago was the pros and cons of hard work. I can't remember what it was called. Something like that. I think it's well worth a listen if you are struggling with that balance. You don't want to work too hard that you miss the smartness, and you don't want to work so smart that nothing happens. You need a bit of the combination plate, the Chinese combination plate, the fried rice, the fried rice with egg and prawn and chicken and something else that shall remain nameless because we don't know what it is. Actually, shout out to Tweed Heads Chinese at the RSL Club. Took the boys there the other night. What a time to be alive. Chinese food. Amazing. Jasper, he's 5. He was eating these spring rolls and he's like, Dad, how do they make these so good? And then we had some deep fried ice cream. I got to admit, deep fried ice cream I never really got into as a kid. Like people would order it and I was always a little bit like concerned with the hot versus cold. It just didn't fill my cup much. Then I tried one and I'm like, when Phoenix didn't finish his, and I'm like, this is genuinely amazing. What a time to be alive. Anyway, how are you moving? So people always ask me like, how do you have a productive office day? And I think office days are the ones you want productive because we all know how to be productive on site. Like chances are, if you had a 3-story house to rough in or 2-story house or like large rough in or large electrical job, insert commercial, whatever, you'd be like, this is a big job. I'm going to start in the downstairs bedroom, bathroom, or downstairs. At this point, I'm going to run sub-circuits. Then I'm going to run my lighting, active neutral earth. Then I'm going to run some power. You'd have like a rhyme or reason because you're acclimatized and used to not trying to do the whole job in one day because it's bigger than a whole day's job. But when you put people in the office, it's amazing how so much they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Sometimes they're just looking at it going like, and this is me included, it's like, you know, you've got to think office work accumulates. It never goes anywhere. So if you've got 10 hours this week and miss it, then that 10 will be 20 hours next week. 10 plus 10 is 20. And if you add another 10 to that in the third week, it's going to be 80. This is office math, right? You've heard of girl math? This is office math. That if you leave the 10 hours or 16 hours or 20 hours this week, or you don't accomplish it, basically you can times it by 1.5 or 2 because next week you're trying to work out what went on this week. I don't know if you've ever sat at your invoicing or going through a quote going like, oh, what happened in that day, or where was I? I remember I saw something. Let me check my notes. I'll never forget going back to I was like, where did I leave that? Was it on cardboard? Was it on voice memo? Was it on my notes section of my phone? Was it written in pen in some obscure wholesaler booklet? Oh, that's right, I wrote it down in the wholesaler diary from last year. Or what happened at this point? Or where's that mat from that point? Or it's in the driver's side like pouch at the back. Oh no, that's the passenger side. Oh, this one's in the glove box. Oh, this one's on the floor. Crazy, right? Like it's amazing that having no rhyme or reason or moving with no rhyme or reason can land you in such a hot mess. So my first and foremost thing when someone's getting moving for the day in an office work, when they're trying to mistake you for a player or a pimp in the office, am I right? Shirt optional. Anyway, my theory is like, are you trying to fit a square peg in a round hole? So Does the carpet match the drapes? Does the 8 hours allowed, in other words, 9 till 5 in the office, does the time allowed match the time required? So many times, I don't know if you've ever been here, you can have these really lofty ideas and ideologies of what you'll achieve in an office day. Oh, I'll get that done, then that done, then that done, then that done. When in fact, once you assign some times to those items, well, that's a 4-hour quote, that's an hour, it's a lot of invoicing, and I've got to do that other thing for 2 hours, that's 8 hours. You haven't even factored into the phone calls you might receive today, to the emails you might receive today, to the text messages you might receive today, to if you're still on the tools, the emergency call-outs you might receive today. So often we're trying to be like, we're doomed from the start. We're like, there's no way that this day was ever going to work. This is the definition of a cooked day, right? And then sometimes it depends on your personality type. You can be so bound by what's the word here? You're so bound by overwhelm that you just end up procrastinating and doing nothing. Or you end up doing the task that wasn't important because it's like, I don't even know where to get started here. And if you're behind in your office work, I would encourage you to start to catch up, because the 10 hours from 3 weeks ago, that's probably worth 30 hours now. And if you can stay on top of it, and as a matter of fact, a big sign that you're behind might be that you need to hire an administration person, right? So a big sign, like maybe the reason you can't stay on top of it is because you can't achieve everything and you might need to hire someone in that role. We've got a sickest admin playbook of all the admin responsibilities. You can assign your times, your playbook, who's doing what, who's going to be doing what in the future. It's such a good thing to flesh out, because once you flesh it out, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm doing so much stuff. I'm doing too much stuff. And I don't know if you've ever, like, you would never sit at a house at a rough-in and be like, I'm going to smash this job out today if it was a 3-week job. You'd be like, well, let's get 8 hours of stuff done and we'll come back again tomorrow and we'll revisit this at this point. So it's like, try and have some rhyme or reason, right? A massive thing I found when I first started booking out my times, and you'll see people like, I'm going to talk from as like someone saw my schedule the other day and they're like, you're so organized. And if you know me, organization's possibly not my strongest suit. I can do it, but I wasn't like a born sort of organizer. It's a little more of a learnt skill for me. But you look at it and I'm like, yeah, because I can more or less predict my day or week, like pretty close to it. I know, because coaching, like if you ever had a coach try and do your calendar for your trade business, you would know like they don't know what they're talking about, because I'm relatively predictable. I know what one-on-ones I've got, what group sessions I got, I know what I can move, what I can't move. But on a trade, and to an extent, as you're in the office, if you're in the office full time, you can function like that. Like I'm a massive believer, but when I just was sort of leaving the electrical business behind into a brighter future, I loved it. I actually really enjoyed it. I love coaching though so much, but like when I was leaving that, I could sort of predict that, because I wasn't doing the firefighting, the management of that stuff, but like still there's an element of unpredictability where every week changes a little bit, because you don't know if you're quoting, you don't know if there's going to be 8 hours or 16 hours or 20 hours of quoting this week or nothing. Chances are hopefully there's something, because we always need that work to chip into in the future. But there's elements of unpredictability, whether that's an emergency call, a call from staff members, or quoting that chops and changes depending on what rhyme or reason or season you're in, right? So eventually your day, as you outsource everything, will be relatively predictable. But up until that point, you might have to accept the predictability that it might be unpredictable. So you can predict that the weather tomorrow is going to be unpredictable at best, because we don't know what it's going to throw out. And the larger the team, the easier to handle, because if you've got 40, or if you're moving like a tradie and an apprentice through your crew and yourself, you might have 100, 120 hours to play with. Chances are that 100, 120 hours, if you're 2 to 3 weeks booked out, is relatively urgent. So you've got to get there. So if you throw an emergency call out in the mix, you can send yourself or the tradie, and that's it. You're limited between one or two options. You've got option A, option B, and that's quite a stressful situation to be in, because the job's got to get done and I've got limited resources to get it done, and they're required at the jobs they're at. So what am I going to do? And that's the hardest part of a business at that stage, when you're trying to be all things to all people and you're moving with limited people you've got limited pieces on the chessboard and you're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill or vice versa. But if you've got 10 or 12 or 15 staff, not saying you want to get there, but just hypothetically, let's say you've got 10, 12 or 15, chances are not every one of their days is absolutely critical to life. You can pull a team off somewhere and put them on another job or have a floating team. That's what we used to do, have a floating team where I had a trading apprentice sort of free, not booked for the week, because I knew that the stuff that came in, they would be able to fill that cup, fill that hole, fill that spot and get that done. So as the team gets larger, that actually becomes easier. As you outsource your admin, that actually gets easier. But wherever you're starting on the circle of life, Elton John style, wherever you're starting, ask yourself the question, how does my day look? Is it too overbooked? Where I was going to before, I found that when I first started, I would book out like 8 hours for 8 hours. I'm a massive believer. You can probably book out 75% of your office day, because the other 25%, so let's say you can book out 6 for 8 hours, the other 2 hours are going to be spent with something that might just come up, that urgent quote from that client of yours, that call you might need to have, that return call you might need to do, those work orders that come in. Insert wherever you are on the spectrum of outsourced admin, chances are there's an element of unpredictability that still needs to be managed that you want to allow time for, because if you don't allow time for that, what's going to happen is you're just always going to be working 10 to 12 to 14 hours every single day. You're never going to feel like you can get back on top of anything because you've overbooked your schedule. Now, on-site, compare this to on-site. I think there's when you've got to get out of that job today, and so I've just got to stay and work back because I've got to get to this next job tomorrow, and you're doing that consistently, think about the accumulated effect of that on site. I remember, might have the cleanest van on Monday, but if you do 5 lots of 12-hour days on a Saturday, your van probably is going to be quite messy by Sunday, and you might even get sick next week. But I can't afford to be sick. I'm a business owner. But the pressure that puts on everything is intense. If you're trying to run at that same pace in the office, it's going to be too much pressure, and eventually something or someone or somewhere is going to crumble because there's too much weight on your shoulders consistently. So what I used to do is, like, with that booking 6 versus 8 out, try and book some space in your days, whether that's 7 till 7:30 while you set up your day, and every couple of hours have some space, but try and have some focus slots as well. So try and have, like, hey, for this 60 or 90 minutes, my phone is in the bin, my phone is on airplane mode, my phone is on some kind of do not disturb, like, don't even think about touching that. I've got this task to do. If it's a 4-hour task, try and break it into, 3 lots, like 2.5-hour lots and a 60-minute lot or whatever. But try and get some rhyme, reason, and structure to your day, because so often, first and foremost, we're trying to fit 16 hours into an 8-hour day. We're gone. We're in procrastination land. Then from that, we're trying to fit like a really, really tight 8 hours. So when you estimate jobs, let's say you were quoting, and I estimate that time to be 2 hours. Like, is that a best case or worst case estimate? What if it takes 2.5? Does that throw my whole day into the absolute moon? Or what happens at that point? And then you've got to have, like, I'm a massive believer. We do this thing called on time in our business, in Sparky Coach, where on Thursday mornings we work on the business. So we have an hour session. If you've got 0 to 1 tradie, you're at 10 o'clock, or 1 to 5 tradies, you're at 11, or 5 plus, you're at 12, right? And we deliberately put those in work hours, because, one of the first things you hear is, like, I can't do that, I'm on site. And it's like, cool, when are you building the business? Like, what are you creating here? Are you just creating like a site monster? It's like, I've got to do the site work, it's so important. And I'm not saying it's not important, but you don't want to be trapped. That's where you get trapped. The site work is where you get trapped. If you are the only person that can, if you're not taking any time this week to build the business, then you're either going to, I reckon you may be able to fluke it. You might be able to fluke it. More than likely, you're going to land yourself in a large job you misquote, or poor staff management, or poor client management, or you're going to fly off the handle at the wrong place at the wrong time and it's going to cost you something, or you're going to be this micromanager from the trade purgatory hell land that's just like, no one else can do it like me, like no one else can screw up. put in saddles like me. No one else can replace an RCD like me. No one else can put an earth stake in like me. No one else can do anything because I am the best person that's ever lived. You'll land yourself in this micromanagement, Lord Mayor craziness. And to be honest, no one's probably going to want to go into work with you because it might just be too hard. It might just be too hard. You might just genuinely be too hard to work for. And it's like, I want to encourage you, like, does the carpet match the drapes in the office? Like, have you allowed enough time in the office first and foremost? And I'll preface this by saying this. You can allow too much time in the office, that can also lead to procrastination. Sometimes I see there's a really healthy ratio, and it's usually about, I'd say probably 2.5 to 4 hours of on-site work produces 1 hour of office work. If you're outside of that north or south, I think you've got some answering to do to the trade gods. I think you should repent now and change your ways. Now, there's always a stage where the calculator won't make sense, where it's like, I know I'm pushing more, I'm heavy on admin at the moment, but that's deliberately because the heavier the admin, the more I can build those processes, contact those new clients, get those quotes out on time, and I can train them up. So when we do hit that ratio, when in a couple of months or 6 months or 12 months, we're going to be in that ratio with a killer team with some amazing work. So there's always a point of everyone's business where the calculator doesn't make sense on either side of the equation. And if we can take our numbers approach and apply some sensibility or some wisdom to that, we can achieve an amazing result. But my question to you, are you moving with intention in the office? Are you moving with purpose in the office? Are you moving deliberately? And are you moving toward your goals, or are you staying still? Because if you're staying still, a lot of times you might be going backward, so to speak. And if you're working those nuts hours, all the time, when is the end date? When is the expiry date on that? Because I'm a big believer, you got to push how hard you got to push at certain stages of business. Make no mistake, that's the hard work, that's the sweat equity you'll pour into it, but you can't do it forever. So if you have an expiry date, and let's say you might be like, next year I want to work 4 days on site and 1 day off site, or I'm going full-time admin in November 3 or whatever. And then if you can set these goals, and even when you're in the office, you go, I'm going to work 7 till 4 or 8 till 4 or 7 till 5, whatever. If you can set your times, and then you can build those times out. And then what's going to happen here, once you build those times out, if you're unable to go over those times, if you make this rule that you can't go over those times, then now you're going to be looking at like, okay, well, I'm consistently going over. Okay, fine, I might need to outsource something because, I can't get it done in my allocated slots. I'm working hard. I'm not procrastinating. I'm efficient. I've allowed space. I've got too much to do. Now I might need to look at handing over. Too often as business owners, we cover up shortcomings by just doing things, whether you're doing something on site or whether you're doing something in the office and just like, I'll just get that done. And you can cover up for hours and hours and hours of work. And for jobs that shouldn't have been efficient, you can cover them to be efficient because you're not allowing for your time, or I'll just do that because of this, or just that because of this. So it's like, my question is, are you moving with purpose? Are you moving like a player or pimp, or are you moving like a pleb? Are you moving like 50 Cent, or are you moving like Greg Crowe, Carmen's 2004? And trust me, you do not want to be moving like Greg Crowe in Carmen's in 2004, shirt optional. Right. Okay. Move with intention, move with purpose, move deliberately, move with goals. Set your day tasks, set your week tasks, set your program, give yourself some space, and have the best office time ever. But whatever you do it well. Do it well. Excellence is doing what you do well and doing it with a good attitude. Do it well, do it excellently. See you guys soon. Thanks, 50 Cent.